Hi. Often in my consultancy business, I sit in on meetings, either physical or virtual, and the silence is deafening. And it's like a bubble. It's what I call the groupthink bubble. That no one speaks up, no one challenges ideas, comes up with new ideas, asks questions. It's just nod in agreement. And the manager takes that silence as consensus, an agreement, and goes off on what could be a disastrous course of action, which other people know is, but haven't said anything. So this week I'm going to explore some of the reasons for that, such as the lack of psychological safety and bias and not being open-minded and being open to feedback. But there's two great examples I wanted to kick off of groupthink that did end up in disaster. And there's lots of examples out there. The two I wanted to talk about was the Challenger Space Shuttle disaster and the Bay of Pigs. Now, the Challenger, and I'll read my notes because I'll get the dates and the numbers right. So, the Challenger Space Shuttle, despite engineers knowing that there was a piece of equipment on the space shuttle that would only operate in temperatures above 53 degrees. On the launch pad on January 28, 1986, it was 36 degrees and nobody said anything. 73 seconds into the flight and the space shuttle broke apart and all 7 on board were killed. It was national, team and political pressure that led to no one saying anything. The silence in the bubble. The other one, the Bay of Pigs, actually inspired Irving Janis to do some research, and he came up with the term groupthink. And the Bay of Pigs fiasco, in a nutshell, was the idea that 14,000 exiled Cubans, trained up by the CIA, would storm the beachhead at the Bay of Pigs, they'd have American artillery, they'd be supported by resources in the air and at sea, and that this would cause the people of Cuba to revolt against Castro, and Kennedy would bask in the glory of halting communism. What actually happened was at the last minute, the air and sea resources were pulled out with about 5 minutes to go. The 1,400 Cuban soldiers, the exiles, encountered Cuban soldiers 20,000 in strength. And without that air or sea support, that 1,400 were either killed or imprisoned. And the whole thing was over in 3 days. And Kennedy's quoted as saying, "There were 50 or so of us, presumably the most experienced and smartest people we could get. But 5 minutes after it began to fall in, we all looked at each other and asked, how could we have been so stupid?" And one of the advisors, Arthur Schlesinger Jr., said that Kennedy's senior officials were unanimous for going ahead. Had one senior advisor opposed the adventure, I believe that Kennedy would have cancelled it. No one spoke against it. And the reason they didn't speak against it is they didn't want to be seen as weak or cowardly. So they fell in. Talk to you tomorrow.